Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having us. So Brian and I are here today from, as she said, the search agency. We are a full-service digital marketing agency. So we do paid search, search engine optimization, banner advertising, anything that's digital marketing is what we focus on. So today what we'd like to talk to you about are those two main disciplines which I mentioned in the beginning there, search engine marketing and search engine optimization. There's not nearly enough time in our presentation today to really get into the mechanics of how to do this in the best possible way, but we want to give you an overview of exactly what it is, how it fits into your overall marketing plans, and how you can properly leverage it in your marketing efforts. So I'm going to speak about search engine marketing, and then Brian will be covering on search engine optimization after I finish up here. So what is search engine marketing? Search engine marketing is a digital marketing channel that allows advertisers to market directly to in-market users within search engines, results page, and in relevant content. So the key portion of this is in-market users and directly, right? So what it allows us to do is find people that are what we call hand raisers, people that are looking for a product or a service that you have to offer, and they're coming and trying to find you by entering their searches into a query, right? So I'm sure everybody in here is familiar with what Google is or what Yahoo, Bing, and we've all used search engines before and used them to try to find goods, services, products that we need to purchase or attain. And this is definitely a main channel of the way that people attempt to do that. So why is it important? So again, like I said before, it helps us to capture hand raisers. It allows us to do a great job of acquiring new customers that are in market for the products that we have. It allows us to increase the visits to our site. Allows us to, if we're doing it properly, increase our revenue. It is one of the most efficient channels that we have for marketing, and it's definitely something we should be having in most of our marketing mixes. Allows us to target the users that we're going after, so it's very customizable in the way that we can choose a specific segment of the population that we would like to go after based on various things which we'll cover in just a minute here, but like location, and there's a few more that we'll go through in a minute. And it also helps us to discover new markets. So by using some of the tools that are within the engines that are available to us, we can determine some relevant queries where people are searching for products or goods that we might necessarily be offering currently that we might be able to add as an addition later. So how does it work? So basically it's pretty simple, right? Somebody is looking for a product or service that you have to offer. We show them your ad within either within the search engines or on relevant content sites, and then hopefully if all goes well, those users then come to your site and then make purchases from you. So what is SEM good for? So SEM is really good at being what we call lower funnel acquisition channel. So some of what we would call higher funnel acquisition channels would be things like traditional TV or print media, where we're trying to get people to be familiar with what our brand is, right? Getting them introduced to who you are and what it is that you do. Lower funnel channels are things like search or paid search, where we are finding people that are already looking for whatever it is that you're delivering to these people and then allowing them to come and purchase from you. What it's not good for is, like what I said before with the upper funnel channels, branding. So although you can generate a little bit of branding effect from paid search, it's really not great for that. So if you think about something like those warm, fuzzy Coke ads, buy the world of Coke, right? They're not really trying to tell you about how great Coke is, but they're trying to convey feelings or emotions about the brand. Search is not the best channel for that, but you do get a little bit of branding aid by people seeing your ads within the SERP. So a couple of key terms for the discussion today. An impression is when your ad is shown within a page. A click is obviously when a user clicks on your ad. Cost is the cost associated with an ad when it's been clicked on. And then a conversion is a really important metric for us. A conversion is when a user takes an action that we want them to take. So if we have if we're selling t-shirts, right? Somebody comes to our site, checks out in the cart with a t-shirt in there, then we've completed a conversion. Okay, where can we show? So there are really two main places that we'll show. The first one is the search engine results page, or as we call it, the SERP. If you look here, I'm sure this is a pretty familiar page for most people. The top part here is what we call the paid results. Below that is earned. You'll also notice that along the right rail, that's also a paid section. So earned is when we talk about SEO, or search engine optimization, we're talking about the earned section of the page, and I'm discussing the paid section, SEM. So the top section here where you see that the search was for tents, there's a results of multiple different types of tents and the places they can be purchased with the prices, and then along the side rail here on the right hand side there's also ads as well. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about SEM in a search engine results page. The other place we can show ads is, we call this contextual advertising. So this is a results page from ESPN. At the bottom of the page they had a few ads, and the ads are relevant to the page here due to the content that was displayed within the page itself. So these ads here, if you look at the first one here, the first one's about walk-in tubs, right? And the page itself discusses injuries. So obviously the people who had designed that ad chose a placement that's related to injuries. The second one is on quality socks, so maybe the interest target there was related to sports equipment. There's another one here that's related to David Robertson, who was a player on the Yankees, I chose this because I'm a big Yankee fan, by the way. The third ad here is related to a gentleman named Phil Robertson. I'm not sure who he is, but it got targeted because of the name Robertson. So it gives you the idea of exactly how that targeting works. So we can choose different categories or interests that we would like to display ads for, and then we can have them shown in those relevant spaces. Rank is a really important thing whenever we're talking about search engines in general, right? So obviously the higher you are towards the top of the page, the more likely you are to get clicked on, and that first position, whether it's earned or organic, earned or paid, is very valuable, right? And everybody's trying to get there. So the way the rankings work are, for the paid side, they're numbered starting from the top going down. So 1, 2, and 3 are there, and then starting on the right-hand rail would be 4, 5, 6, and so on. These can be augmented in different ways depending on the way that the results page is shown on that particular occasion. They change pretty dynamically, but this gives you a general idea of what the normal layout looks like. So then the next question becomes, how do we determine who shows where? So the results are determined based on an auction. So the way it works is we choose a set of keywords that we think are valuable for us. We make bids on those keywords, and then those bids for those keywords are combined with something that's called quality score to determine where we're going to show within the rankings. And quality score is a function of how relevant your ad and keyword and landing environment, where we're sending the end user, is to what the original query was. So if we have, for instance, a query that is related to new car purchases, right? If they're searching for where to buy a new car, the ad is related to buying a new car, and the landing page is related to buying a new car, we're going to have a good quality score. If we have a search that's related to buy a new car, the ad that we show is about buying boats, and the landing page is about buying condos, that's going to be a poor quality score. And as a result, we're going to have to pay more to appear higher within the search engine page, or we might not show at all. So this is just an example of what a combination of quality score and bid might look like. So if you notice here, advertiser 1 in the top spot here has a bid for their keywords of $2. They have a quality score of 10, and then they're showing at the top of the page. Whereas if you look at somebody like advertiser 4 here, they're bidding $8, right, which is 4x what the first advertiser is bidding, but their quality score is a 1, and they're showing in the 4th position. Now, these aren't exact metrics, right? We don't know exactly what the formula looks like, but there's an algorithm that determines the combination of quality score and bid price that determines where you're going to show within the page. So some of the different elements of the search engine results page to go over here. The top part here, obviously, that's where the user enters the query or the keyword, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Then these are what we call, like we said earlier, impressions. So when your ad is shown, and then when somebody clicks on your ad, obviously we call that a click, as we stated before. If you notice here, I entered in the query was for plumbers within Waikiki. And then the third ad here was a result for a plumber in Waikiki, right? And then when we click on the ad, it takes us to a page for, shockingly, a plumber in Waikiki. Then if you look down here on the bottom right, there's a submit button. He's got a form, and his conversion would be somebody filling out this form, and then he would contact them so that they could perform a service for them. I think that plumbing is one of the best examples about a good way a good example of where you would use search marketing or search SEM. It's you have a problem, you need to have a solution for it, and it's an easy way for them to provide it for you. So how do we get the best results out of our search engine marketing? So the biggest thing to do here, if we're going to give one piece of quick advice, is make sure that you have alignment. You need to have a lot of continuity between the query that's being entered, the ad copy that we're serving, and the landing environment. Again, going back to my example about the car, you want to make sure that within that whole process, everything is in alignment. That's going to give you the best results for your end user, going to give you the best conversion rates, and it's going to also boost your quality scores. How do we determine what our bids are going to be within the auction place? So there's two real main methods that we can go about using for this. The first method is what we call CPC bidding, or cost per click bidding. So that's determining what you want your bid to be based on what you're willing to pay for a click. The second method, which is a better method, is what we call CPA bidding, or cost per acquisition bidding. This is where we determine what our bid price should be based on what the end value of a good or service is for us to sell, right? So these bids are very dynamic based on industry. If we're looking at something like I was saying earlier, like t-shirt sales, right? The margin in a t-shirt sale is going to be much smaller than it is for, say, one of the best examples is mesothelioma lawsuits, right? Whenever somebody gets a client that can successfully execute a lawsuit, those are very valuable keywords. So those keywords will cost you a lot more than it would for the t-shirt sales, right? And that's just a function of the value of the product that they're offering, or service they're offering. So as a summary to the page search portion of this discussion, we want to make sure that we are, search is best used for marketing to in-market users. It allows us to acquire people who are actually out there actively looking for whatever it is that we're offering. It's used as a customer acquisition channel. It's not primarily used for branding, so don't think about it as a traditional marketing channel. We're not out there to tell everybody about how great our company is. We're out there to find people that are looking for what it is that we're offering. We want to make sure that we always have alignment, again, from the query to the ad into the landing environment. And then the last one here is make sure that we're targeting users as best as we possibly can. So make sure that we have our location settings and other levers within the tools to make sure we're going after the best possible users. Brian will now talk about SEO for a little while.
Hi, my name is Brian Free. I'm a senior account manager at the search agency. I've been doing SEO for close to 8 years now. And so today what I'm going to go over with you is a brief history of search engine optimization. I'm going to talk to you about how you can incorporate SEO into your marketing mix, different ways you can improve your site so it'll be more attractive both for search engines and for users, and then some tools that'll help you along the way. So this kind of gives you kind of a high-level overview of the history of SEO. So it really goes back to about 1994. And so we have this going all the way through 2013. Initially, people that engaged in SEO were really trying to game portals so that they could get better rankings, so they could drive more traffic to their websites. The first search engine that really came along was Alta Vista in 1995, and Google and Bing followed in 1998. And so really within the first 10 years of SEO, it was really people trying to game the system and being able to do so because there weren't really any restrictions by search engines stopping them from doing so. The last 10 years, especially with Google and MSN, they've become a lot more intelligent, a lot more advanced at detecting people trying to game the system. So they've influenced really the way people surface within the results, trying to offer their users the best possible user experience. And so, as Dan had showed you, just kind of rehash here, search engine results page, SERP, has a couple of different elements, paid and earned. Depending on your search, you could also have owned results as well, so like local results, depending on the search and the location. So I just wanted to give you a quick definition of what SEO is. I think there's a misconception on SEO as being trying to gain rankings within the search engines, which isn't necessarily the case. SEO is actually the practice of improving a website's functionality and usability. The result of that is ranking for relevant search queries. And so why is SEO important? So SEO is important in a lot of the same ways that it is for SEM. So really, I think the best thing for SEO is that you are improving the usability of your website, so it does influence a lot of other channels. You can acquire new customers. It's a great way of acquiring new customers, increasing revenue. It is probably the lowest cost marketing activity that you can do from a digital perspective. And it really can inform and influence the way that you are running your other marketing channels. So SEO, like at a kind of its basic foundation, like we see SEO as a pyramid, and it's influenced by basically two factors: on-site factors, which you have control over; off-site factors, which you don't have as much control over. So on-site is the foundation, the technical issues within your website. So it's your architecture, it's your URL structure, different crawl paths, and so that's really where you want to start with. And so an analogy that we use is that Google and Bing, so they use spiders to crawl your site, to index your site. And so the analogy we use is that Google and Bing, the spiders are kind of like blind kindergartners. They're very interested in the world, but they don't really understand what they're seeing. They don't know how to label things. And so within your site architecture, your internal linking, it's really important that you're giving the search engines a clean path to crawl through your website. You're labeling things appropriately so they understand what your site is about. The second on-site signal is really content, so the keyword research and targeting. So it's important that you understand what your customer base is looking for. There's various keyword research tools that you can use to determine what your customer base is looking for, and then you could target that content on your site. And you have control over both, so you have control over both those on-site factors. For off-site factors, there's been a lot of buzz around link building, the right ways, the wrong ways to do things. Google has come down pretty harshly on people that are trying to game the linking system at this point. They've released Penguin Penalty, which has essentially tried to cut out all paid linking, any kind of linking where you're trying to influence unnaturally the amount of backlinks you have so that you can rank. And then social, you do have some control over social. It's really important to build vibrant communities within your customer base, and those vibrant communities offer a trust signal for the search engines, and it does improve your rankings. All right, so to get started, so there's a few basic steps I think that everybody needs to get in place when they do get started with SEO. So for analytics, if you have it, that's great. You should be analyzing, you should be looking at the data. If you don't have it, it's very easy to set up. There's free platforms that you can use, also paid platforms. The website must be crawlable. Like I said, it's you need to help Google, you need to help Bing, you need to hold their hand and show them where to go on the site, what you want them to see on the site. Research keyword phrases. It's really important that you understand what people are searching for and that you do target that content around it. So content is king. So write compelling content. One of the biggest things that Google and Bing are looking for at this point is they're looking to give their users the best possible experience. The best possible experience is an engaging experience once they get onto your website. One of the best ways to do that is to build really compelling content, and it doesn't always just have to be content. You could mix interactive features in there as well. But really the goal is to keep people on your site, whether it's trying to get them to complete a desired action or just to stay on the site for a certain amount of time. It's important to know what you're trying to do. Make sure people can share and follow your content both for social media, having social media buttons, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. Also, it's important that you'll allow people to share links out to other people, whether it's via email or even share it on their website. And then backlinks are still important. Really the best way, the way that we advise people to build backlinks at this point is with compelling, unique content, content that's going to help people serve or find a solution to their problem. So at the foundation of everything is Google being able to crawl your site. So without a crawl path, the search engines can't get to every page on your site. If they can't get to your site, you can't get to the pages on your site, they can't index it, they can't rank it. So this is kind of the basic foundation of what we would advise from an architectural standpoint. And so, ideally, you're not going to have everything perfect. We talk about internally at Search Agency creating the least imperfect structure. So it's never going to be perfect, but as long as it's really solid, you're going to allow the search engines to get in and crawl the site. So having a clean domain that's free of any penalties, having a clean and a really clean URL structure is really important, both for users and for search engines. Crawl paths, it's important that there's internal links from the top of your site filtering down to the pages you think are the most important, and there should be a hierarchy so that the search engines understand what's most important to you as well. And then fast load times is actually one of the biggest things that Google's focusing on right now. Slow load time does impact user experience. And if there's a poor user experience, people are going to leave your site faster. And those engagement metrics are included within Google's algorithm. And if they're not good, then you can be dropped from the first tier index. And then duplicate content. Duplicate content's been a big one. Google's been focusing a lot on that, and so there's different ways you can have duplicate content. It can be on your own. It could be content that you're copying from your own site onto new pages to try to rank for more keywords. It could be content that you're pulling from third-party sites, and so it's important that you're handling that duplicate content in the right way, and you have to ask yourself if that content makes sense to be on your site, if it makes sense for your customers. So for content success, so just a couple do's and don'ts. So you should absolutely be writing for your users, not search engines. You should understand what people are searching for. You should share your content across Facebook, Google+. It's really important. And just simple optimizing titles and meta descriptions, because those are going to be the areas that are going to show up in the search engine's results page, and that's going to be basically your marketing hook to try to catch people and bring them into your site. Really important things not to do. You should not be stuffing keywords on your page. You should not be adding keywords just to add keywords. The content you should be writing should make sense, and it should have keywords used appropriately. You should have content that's built out and robust. We really recommend any page with less than 200 keywords or less than 200 words on a page probably isn't going to rank very well. Don't blatantly copy articles from third-party sites. If you are, you should be sourcing the articles, and there's technical ways you can handle that as well, so that it's not counted as duplicate content. And then don't write content just to rank for keywords. You should write it because it's useful for your customers. All right, so I'm going to go over a handful of hot topics right now that are being discussed pretty much on a daily basis in the SEO community. So one of the big things that's going on right now is mobile, social, and local. All three are very, very big. They're definitely emerging to a certain degree. I think there's still a lot of growth in where they're all going to go. I don't think it's necessarily cut and dry, but it's all moving. Google used to be very much, they would show you a single set of results. Didn't matter where you were located, didn't matter what device you're searching on. They've gotten a lot more advanced, and so they're starting to show a lot more localized results, results based on the device that you're searching on. And then Google penalties, so Panda, Penguin, Caffeine, they're all different methods of trying to capture web spam, and it's hurt a lot of businesses. It's helped a lot of businesses that are doing things the right way. And then finally, Hummingbird, which we'll go over, but is basically a complete overhaul of Google's algorithm. Basically, they replace the engine in their car. So for mobile optimization, so it's really more important now than ever with so many searches being done on mobile devices, and in the very near future, we will see the number of mobile searches catch up to the number of desktop searches. So it's really important that you do have an optimized mobile experience. You should understand that for a lot of businesses, the intent of somebody searching on desktop is going to be very different than people searching on mobile. And so you should understand what your customer's intent is, and you should create an environment that's different if you need to. And so a couple different ways that you can handle mobile. Google would recommend responsive. And so responsive is basically use style sheets to optimize the mobile experience. It keeps the same content that's on the desktop site and just displays it in a different way on the mobile site. Adaptive keeps everything on the same domain, but it uses style sheets to display different content that's on your desktop site that's optimized for a mobile experience. And then you can use a separate domain like mobile.example.com, which displays totally customized content for your mobile users. Really the drawback to using adaptive or the separate domain is you do have to maintain an entirely separate site in addition to your desktop site. And really with mobile, Google's come out and specifically said that if your site doesn't load within 2 seconds, you will actually be dropped into the second tier index within the results. So it's extremely important that your site loads fast and that it's usable for mobile users. And so SEO and social have started to kind of overlap to a certain degree. Really the advantages of being very active on social is you can build very vibrant communities. you can really start conversations with your customers, understand their needs, their desires, what they're looking for, and that can also inform what you're doing on your own site too. But those vibrant communities and interactions within it is really a trust factor within the search engines, and the more trust you have with the search engines, the better you're going to rank. So local. So Google and Bing both have really taken a really big approach to really trying to provide a better local experience for the users. 43% of all Google searches are localized at this point, over 20% for both Bing and Yahoo. It's really, really important that you're using, if you do have locations or you are geographically located, that you are optimizing your Google Plus pages, that you have claimed Google Places for Business pages, LinkedIn, that you do have your citations filled out, so it's like on stuff like Yelp and other local citation sites like that. It's really important that you have the correct names, addresses, phone numbers on those pages. Basically, it's another trust factor. Without that information, or with incorrect information, it can actually negatively influence your ranking. All right, and so Google penalties. So Google penalties really over like the last 3 years. I mean, they've been rolling them out for a while now. I'm sure some people have heard of Panda and Penguin penalties. They drastically changed the way people rank and the way people go about their business as far as how they operate with SEO. And so for Panda, Panda targeted sites that either had very poor content, that duplicated content, that had a lot of advertisements above the fold, basically sites that were providing a really, really poor user experience. They targeted those sites, and they significantly decreased the amount of traffic they're sending to them. In some cases, we saw some sites traffic loss like up to 80% from organic, so it was really a pretty serious penalty. Penguin was more of a penalty that was levied against people that were buying and selling links, but it wasn't necessarily just buying or selling links. There's multiple ways that you could actually be hit by Panda. It's basically any time that sites are manipulating the amount of links that they have. So it can be from people abusing guest posts, even trading services, advertorials. All those different things could actually get the Penguin penalty levied against you. All right, so Hummingbird. So Hummingbird is really the future of Google. This rolled out about 6 months ago. To a certain degree, it kind of flew under the radar because it was a little bit more abstract than Panda and Penguin. Panda and Penguin are very simple. They're black and white animals. You're either doing things right or you're doing things wrong. Hummingbird is really a completely different animal. It's about speed, and it's about Google trying to deliver the best results the fastest to their users. And so basically they scrapped their old algorithm. They put a completely new one in place. The new algorithm does actually take into account Panda and Penguin, whereas Panda and Penguin used to be updated on a manual basis. And so now Panda and Penguin are actually rolled directly into the algorithm, so it's all updated seamlessly. And so really I think that the biggest thing that Hummingbird is trying to do is Hummingbird isn't a penalty. It's a different way of ranking websites. It's really focused in the speed that they can deliver those results. And it's not necessarily the speed of your site, but it's the speed at which they can understand what your site is about. And so it's stuff like Semantic Web, which is tagging the information on your site so that it explains to the search engines what your website is about. And Hummingbird is really preparing for the future. It's preparing for stuff like voice search, really a lot more like mobile tablet search. With smartphones, smart devices, there's a lot more conversational search, so it's people asking questions into their phone. Or even like Google Glass, people asking questions saying, like, where is my local plumber? And so Google in the past had trouble dealing with those queries because there's multiple variables within that query. And so by tagging your content and basically creating like a web of tagged content, they're starting to understand connections between different keywords, different intent, and based on that, they're able to serve up better results faster for their users. And so I just wanted to go over some tools on some of the different items that we went over today. So first with analytics. So Google Analytics is free. They do have an enterprise version as well, but it is free. It's very easy to set up. If you don't have analytics, I strongly recommend getting it set up. It takes probably about 5 minutes of your time. For all the rest, for core metrics, Site Catalyst, Web Trends, they're all enterprise-level solutions. It is definitely a large investment to get them set up. They do have a little bit better customization, they have better training, and better customer support. So for technical tools, so the couple of free ones that we recommend everybody set up, once again, just takes a couple of minutes. They're great diagnostic tools, and they tell you exactly what the search engines see and think about your site, is Google and Bing Webmaster Tools. There's a ton of data in there. It shows you error monitoring, gives you keyword data, tons of information, gives you crawl data. Very easy to set up, actually pretty easy to understand once you get in the interfaces. Then there's a couple of speed tools that I would definitely recommend checking out if you haven't tested out the speed on your site, one being Google PageSpeed, the other being Pingdom. They're great diagnostic tools. They give you a lot of recommendations on the areas that are lacking within PageSpeed, so it's all very actionable. For content tools, if you're worried about copyright issues, there's sites like Copyscape where you can analyze either URLs or sites, and it'll basically tell you throughout the web if there's other websites that are using your content. There's great competitor intelligence tools like SEMrush and SpyFu, where you can go in there. There's free versions of it. There's also licenses you can buy that'll give you a lot more data, but it gives you great competitive intelligence as to what your competition is doing, both on an SEM and SEO from a keyword targeting level, and some of the traffic information they have too. So link tools. So really the three that I recommend are Majestic, Moz, and Ahrefs. And so they do have some free versions you can use. They don't give you a ton of data. You do need to buy a license for them, but they're extremely useful. Ton of competitive information that you can get from it. It basically tells you, once again, like the value, the trustworthiness, the authoritativeness of the links that are coming into your site, as well as your competition. And then social SEO tools. So there's tools like Radiance and Sysomos, which give you, that allow you to see like influencers within your vertical. And a lot of that can roll back over time too. So you can see the different sites within your vertical and how people that are talking about them, people that are talking about yourself. It's a great tool. They're great tools that allow you to basically go out and find the people that are talking about your industry and reach out to them and try to form connections with them. And then a lot of these other tools like Clout and Hootsuite, they give you more specific, they'll give you social like platform signals and how your site and how your competitors are doing against them. Thank you, and we'll take any questions you have.
What is the conversion ratio of SEO compared to traditional multi-parent?
So that's a good question, but it'd be very vertical specific. So I don't really have any data on that. I don't think I've ever seen anything in terms of the conversion rates. It would be, in general, it's going to be much better than what you would have for a traditional media, right? Because again, when we're thinking about where it fits into your marketing mix, right, it's much closer to the point at which somebody is about to take an action, whether it's to buy something that you're selling or take advantage of a service that you're offering. Whereas your traditional, let's say you had a newspaper article, right, or not an article, but an ad in a newspaper, right? The amount of impressions you're going to get in terms of number of people that are seeing it versus the amount of people that are actually going to take action on that are much lower than the amount of people that are actually actively looking for whatever it is that you're offering and then going to take action on that.
How does a small or medium-sized business get started in search engine marketing?
That's another good question. So, where do you get started? The place you probably want to start with is building out, you need to build out a campaign structure, as we call it. So you need to determine exactly what keywords are relevant to whatever good or service you're providing, and then build relevant ads around that. After that, you would have to determine exactly what you think your initial bid should be to get started. So what is the value of each of those keywords? And then you want to make sure that you are building the structure in a way, as we said earlier, that we have the proper alignment. So what we want to do is bucket our keywords into something called an ad group, where those keywords are paired up with the ads that are most relevant to them. So if we're going back to the car example, right? So if somebody is searching for new Toyotas for sale, you want to have an ad that is related to new Toyotas, and then you want to land them on a page that's related to new Toyotas, right? So you'd build an ad group that's related to that. If somebody is then searching for something like used Chevys, right? Then you would have a different ad group related to used Chevys, which would have a different ad, and then land them in a different environment so you can deliver them the best content. So that's basically where you would get started, is building out your keyword sets, making sure that your structure is properly organized, and then establishing your initial bids. And then becomes the real work that goes into it, which is the optimization. So determining which keywords are working for you, which ones aren't, bidding down the ones that are not working, bidding up on the ones that are working, while still trying to maintain a margin. And then doing other stuff such as negative keywords, so making sure that you're not showing for irrelevant searches. The list goes on and on from there. There's quite a bit that you can do. Yes?
How do you weed out the keywords that aren't working?
So, like I said, there's a couple ways you can go about it. One, if it's just a keyword that you just no longer want to be active on, you can just pause it out. You can delete it out of your account, or just bid it down to a point at which it's low enough in cost that it's really not affecting you anymore. The other way that you can go about it is, like I was just mentioning, about negative keywords. So if there's traffic coming to your site that is irrelevant to what it is that you're doing, you can actually add in and say, hey, if somebody is searching for this or including it in the query string, we don't want to show for this. And that'll actually prevent those ads from your ads from showing in those searches.
Sure. So he's asking what the turnaround time is for making changes to your website to the time before you start ranking for those keywords or for those changes. It really depends. It depends on the competitiveness of the keyword that you're trying to rank for. It depends on the changes that you're making. And so for a lower competition type keyword, if you add some new copy to your page, you change titles, meta descriptions, you could potentially start seeing some results within a couple of weeks. It could take, honestly, up to a couple of years. It really depends.
Is there an inverse relationship between the competitiveness of the keyword and the cost of it?
I'd say there's a good correlation between the competitiveness and the cost. And it goes beyond the competitiveness. Well, I guess they're kind of related. It's more a determinant of what the end value of that keyword is, right? So my example earlier of mesothelioma lawsuit, right? If I'm an attorney and I get somebody that is looking to bring forward a lawsuit for mesothelioma, and the payout can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the cost of that keyword is going to increase. Now, also, competition is a big factor as well. So if we have a space in which a lot of people aren't competing, obviously since it's an auction, the limited competition will allow you to acquire that traffic at a much lower cost than it does if there's a lot of other competitors. It's just a supply and demand situation.
I have a question from the audience also. Who do I talk to maximize my website with the SEO recommendations?
So I think it really depends on the work that you need to have done and kind of where you are. So far it depends on how much work you've done from an SEO perspective, how long your site has been up, and the structure of it and everything else. But prices can range significantly if you are looking for help. I mean, it can be anywhere from individual people, which you can find on a number of different websites. You can go to established agencies. So it really depends on your budget and the type of work that you need to have done.
Do I need a marketing person that specializes in online marketing?
I guess the short answer to that is no, but it's like anything else. It depends on how involved you want to be, how much your budget what your budget looks like, and what you're expecting to get out of it. So I could do my own minor home repairs at home, and it's going to be pretty simple for me, right? But if I need to build a new house, or if I'm building many houses, I probably need somebody to help me out with that. Like we were saying earlier, with getting started with building out an initial campaign or getting started in SEM, that's a real easy thing to do. Doing it properly is a little bit more difficult. And then once you get into much larger, much more complex businesses, so if you're a retailer with many, many, many different types of offerings, it becomes a much larger task, and you probably want to get some assistance with that. But there's a lot of good resources online that you can use for both SEM and for SEO if you're just getting started.
What about YouTube and advertising on YouTube?
So that's a different animal altogether. So then we're getting into what we call that display advertising, where we have either banner images or video assets. So YouTube operates in a lot of the best practices for SEM or search engine marketing also applies for YouTube. So you want to make sure, and also for SEO, right? You want to make sure that the content you're showing is engaging. You want to make sure that you're directing the users to the best possible place, and you want to make sure that the targeting that you have is as locked in as possible. YouTube allows for a lot of really granular targeting, so you can go after specific audiences that are relevant to what the products or services that you're offering. So let's say you're a retailer selling fishing rods, right? You can go out and just target videos that people are looking at for fishing videos, right? Or any other example you can think of. So I would definitely make sure that the targeting is right there. The barrier to entry on the YouTube side that you don't have on paid search or SEO side is that you need to have actual video assets. You can also do text or banner display ads on YouTube, but that's a different beast altogether as well.
In your opinion, what is the one thing that I can do on my website that would make the biggest impact on Google ranking?
I think the biggest thing you could do is content. It's really just making sure that you have really useful, unique content is very important. Making sure that on pretty much every page of your site that you want to rank for, that you have content on those pages and that you have optimized titles and meta descriptions, because that's what's going to end up showing up within the search engine's results page. So making sure that you have that optimized in the keyword phrases you want to rank for is really the most important thing. Or I guess probably the easiest thing you could leverage that'll have the most impact.
How does that work out? Does each page get some kind of ranking, or?
Sure, yeah. So each page will be ranked individually as long as they're unique pages, and there's unique content on every one of those pages. So if it's all unique and they're all different pages, they all have the chance to rank for whatever keyword's being targeted. And so generally, like what the search engines will pick out of those pages is what's going to be within the title and then keywords that are repeated throughout the body content or within tags on that page. And that's what they're going to determine as your primary keyword target, and that's what they're going to rank you for.
So you have to optimize each page or each article or each bit of content? Or?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, I mean, ideally you should be optimizing every page, every article. At the end of the day, I mean, if you're writing really good articles, you shouldn't really have to do a whole lot of optimization on them. You should be optimizing the tags really at that point. So if you're writing really useful, unique content, stuff that's going to benefit end users, as long as you have the titles and meta descriptions and stuff like that, that's aligned with the content on the page, then that should be a pretty good starting point.
Do we have to be constantly changing each page then, like every 6 months or something like that, or updating it?
For pages that are static and what the content that is static, you don't need to be changing it. I would keep you can refine it based on how you're ranking for something. So if you're not necessarily ranking for your primary keyword, you could tweak the content to try to rank better for it, but you don't necessarily need to change it. One of the things that Google really specifically is looking for is new sources of fresh content. So I wouldn't necessarily say you have to change what you have. It's adding new, really on a consistent basis, and that's what the search engines really eat up at this point.
Well, you talk about meta tags or tagging. Can you just explain that a little bit more?
So meta tags on the website itself, the title is what you would see at the top of your tab within the browser. So the title on the page is going to show up there. So if it's tents for sale, it'll say tents for sale up on the tab. Otherwise, it's not visible to the end user. The meta description isn't visible to the user at all. It's something that's on the back end, but where it does show is within the search engine's results page. The title is that highlighted blue link, and so that's why you need to have a title that's not only optimized for your keyword, because it's going to end up showing based on that keyword search, but it should be something that's catchy too. And so you shouldn't just be having keywords, but keyword, comma, keyword, comma, keyword, comma. You should have something that's marketable, that's going to influence somebody to click through. The meta description is the 2 or 3 lines you have underneath it that are describing what the page is about. And so, for something like that, you should have something that is short and concise, but it's descriptive, and it has a hook to try to get somebody to click through to your site.
You have to have someone that understands meta tags to do that for you, or
It depends on if you have a CMS or something like that, it should just be like a field that you're going to fill in. If you're doing it within the code itself, you'd have to find the title tag and the meta description tag, and they're in the head section, so they're right at the top generally. But most people are going to be using a CMS, and so it should be a field within your CMS that you can modify.
What's the main difference between the page links on the left and the one on the right? Is it just like
how much you pay for that, or?
Yes. So in this example, there's a few big differences. So on this page, right, the difference between the ones that are showing on the top and the ones that are showing on the right is their rank. So as we discussed earlier, the higher you are towards, the closer you are to the search bar, the more traffic you're going to get. So that's a more valuable position to appear in. Now, I think what you're, if that's not the answer to the question, what you're probably asking is, why do these have images and the other ones don't? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So this is a little bit of a newer type of ad that's being shown here at the top. This is called a product listing ad. So the way this is generated is the retailers that are showing here have what is called a product feed. That feed is sent over to Google. So it includes the product that they're selling, the price, an image to go along with it, as well as a description. And then when you do a search, so in this instance we search for tents, it gives us a list of tents that are for sale along with the images and the prices. These are really, as you can imagine, having the image attached to it adds a lot to the click-through rate and becomes a very prominent position. These used to show lower within the page, but Google's always experimenting with the areas in which they display these ads. I think they're going to probably stay towards the top of the results page from now on. This is actually becoming really important in mobile. If you think about a mobile device, right, it's a very small screen and there's only usually about 2 ads that are showing on the page at any time. If the top of those ads is these big image ads, then anybody else is being pushed down even further, and even more so on the organic side. You're going to show much lower on the phone. They'll have to scroll to get to that.
Thank you, Dan and Brian, for a wonderful presentation from the search agency. Thank you.